Hello friends, this is Shrimant Telgave and you are learning ASP.NET MVC5 tutorial step by step. So this is part 14 and in this tutorial we are going to understand the standard HTML helper in ASP.NET MVC5. So in this tutorial we are going to learn overview of the previous tutorial. What is built-in HTML helper in ASP.NET MVC5? List of standard HTML helper. How to use the standard HTML helper on view. Example of the standard HTML helper, advantages and disadvantages of using the standard HTML helper, and interview question and homework. So those all are the points we are going to discuss in this tutorial step by step. So first we are going to design the student registration form with the help of all the standard HTML helpers. So we are going to use the label, TextBox, password, radio button, TextArea, Checkbox, Dropdown List, and list box and button. All these are standard HTML controls we are going to use to build the student registration form. So let's start one by one. First one, we are going to understand the overview of the previous tutorial in MVC. So in the previous tutorial we are going to understand there are main three different type of HTML helper: inline HTML helper, built-in, and custom HTML helper. So built-in HTML helper is again categorized into three types: standard HTML, strongly typed, and templated HTML helpers. So in this tutorial we are going to understand the standard HTML helper in detail. So first one is, what is a standard HTML helper? So standard HTML helper are used to render the most common type of the HTML control, like the label, text box, password, text area, checkbox, radio button, drop-down list, list box, display editor, and action link. So the HTML helper are always starting with @HTML, and it is an object of the HTML helper class, and symbol. So if you in the previous tutorial we have understand about is the symbol of razor syntax. If you want to access the server side code, then we can use the means is the razor syntax, and with the help of razor syntax we can access or we can write the C# code onto the view. So here is also, so you can see symbol is used to access the server side code, and the extension method of the HTML helper class has a several overloaded method we can use as per the requirement. So HTML helper always start with @HTML. So you can take any example. For example, label, textbox, password. @HTML.label. We can use @HTML.textbox, @HTML.password, @HTML.textArea. All the HTML helpers are always start with @HTML. And so if you go with to understand what is the @, so just so you can create one example having name MVC5 standard HTML helper demo, and add one view. So I will provide name of this is student registration form, and just to understand, first we are going to understand the HTML.textbox. So if you say @HTML.textbox, and if you right click on the text box and go to the definition, you can see TextBox is an extension method. So you can see the input extension method, and if you have the basic knowledge of the extension method, then you can definitely identify this is a extension method. Why? Because the extension method is always a public static method which is inside the public static class, and the first parameter of the extension method we can pass with the help of this keyword. So these all are the extension methods. So you can see checkbox, hidden field, password, a radio button, checkbox, textbox, TextArea, all these are the extension methods, and the return type of these all extension method are the MVC HTML string. And so if you see @HTML, right click on this and go to the definition. So HTML is a property which is inside the web view page, and we can access all the extension method with the help of @HTML. So it is the type of HTML helper model property inside the web view page. So HTML is the property of the type HTML helper included in the base class of a Razor View web view page. So just we have seen here @HTML is inside the web view page, and which is inside the system.web.mvc namespace. And the textbox or textbox4 is the extension method included in HTML helper class. So all these are textbox, textbox4, checkbox, radio button, all these are the extension method which is inside the HTML helper class. HTML helper class generate the HTML. For example, @HTML action link. If you say action link, and action link has the signature of the action link is link text, action method name, and controller name. So we can pass the add employee is the text link, create is the action method, and employee is the controller. It would generate the anchor tag once it is rendered to the browser, like a href is equal to employee/create, and the text of the hyperlink is add employee. So in the session in the previous tutorial of this series, so we have understand the Razor View engine concept. So next point is there are a list of standard HTML helper, so like @HTML.begin form, @HTML.label, textbox, password, TextArea, checkbox, radio button, dropdown list, listbox, @HTML.hidden, display, editor, @HTML.action link. So these all are the standard HTML helper we can use in a ASP.NET MVC to develop the web application. So we will go with one by one and understand how can we use the HTML helper, standard HTML helper on Vue to create the student registration form. So first one, we are going to understand the text box. @HTML.textbox, the HTML helper class is used to generate the HTML element, and textbox for helper method is a loosely typed extension method. So we have understand it is a loosely typed, it is not the textbox for it is not a tightly coupled. So we can pass the any string to the textbox extension method, and which is used to generate the text box. So the text box method is used to generate the text box, like input type is equal to text box element in Razor View, and the @HTML.TextBox method is inside the system.web.mvc.html namespace, and the return type of the text box is MVC HTML string. So if you want to go with the example, so just we will create one text box here. So you can see this is the text box, and the text box has a several overload method. The text box extension method has the several overload method. So you can see there are 7 overload method for the text box HTML helper. So we can go with one by one. So we can pass this name as a string, we can pass the second value as an object, and third one is a object HTML attribute. So if you see, if you right click and go to the definition, so this is the signature of HTML helper. So we can pass as a name as a string, value as an object, and we can pass the format, and also we can pass the object as the HTML attribute. Here you can see we can pass also the HTML attribute. There are list of overloaded method, so we can understand some of them. So first, if you say we can pass any name, for example we can say user name, right? And if you execute the application, so you can see this is the text box. So if you right click and inspect this, so once it is rendered to the browser, it will convert into the pure HTML input. So you can see type is equal to text box. It will generate the input type is equal to text box. ID is a username, and name is also, it will provide the same username which we have provided here. So we can provide the value also. So if you want to provide the also, for example I will say user name. So you can see if you refresh the page, so default it will provide the value is a username, and we can edit or we can type any here. If you want to provide the HTML to this, then we can use the HTML attribute also. To use the HTML attribute, we need to use the new keyword, new curly bracket open and close, and we can use we can apply the any class. So for example I will say form control. So you can see and so you can see the ID and name, it is showing the same. ID and name is showing the same. If you want to change the ID or name, then you can pass ID is equal to here I can say txt, or to understand purpose I will say ID user name, right, and I will refresh the page. So you can say ID is changed. We have provided the ID is equal to ID user name. So if you pass the different ID to the each control, then we can use the HTML attribute to provide the ID to the text box, label, or any type of standard HTML helper. Right? This is the basic knowledge of the standard HTML. Many standard HTML helper has the same signature, so we can use, if you see the text box, TextArea also we can pass the string as the name, we can pass the object and HTML attribute same. The only there are list of standard HTML which having the different signature, for example list box and drop-down list and checkbox. So we will go with one by one and understand more detail. So next one is the @HTML.begin form. So @HTML.begin form, it is a loosely typed extension method which is used to create the HTML form, like less than form action is equal to index and method is equal to form. So if you want to create the form, then we can use @HTML form. So we can first to create, I will use one div and we can apply some bootstrap CSS. I'll say container, and inside this container, so we can use the table, and table contain the table row and table data. So first table heading, so all the table. So first we will create the begin form. So we can create the HTML dot begin form. So HTML dot begin form, and HTML dot begin form is a loosely typed extension method. So we can pass, so it has a list of overloaded methods, so you can see here. First we can pass the name of the action method name, and we can pass action method name first. Second, we can pass the name of the controller, so we can say home, and we can pass the form method dot post. We can use any get or post. So inside this we will create the table, and so if you don't want to use the using, then you can also use the end form @HTML.begin form and @HTML.end form. So the purpose of both are the same. So if you use @using, so it will automatically destroy all the resources. And if you don't want to use the using keyword, then we can use the end @html.end form. So first we will going we are going to create the student registration form. So first we will use the username. Username is the label. So here @html.label. so if you understand @html.label, we can pass the name of the label. So we can see username, and here is the text box, so which we have created. Next one is the begin form. So next one is the label. A label is used to create the label in a Razor view. So label is also the loosely typed extension method which is used to create the label in Razor view. So @html.password. So @html.password is used to create the text box, which is the input type is equal to password, and the password has several overloaded method, so we can use as per our requirement. And the password is also the extension method, which is the return type is MVC HTML string, and which is inside the system.web.mvc HTML namespace. So we will create first password, and then we can go with the other control. So next we are going to use the password. So label, I can say password, and here I will remove this one, and we can say @html.password. So we can pass name of the string. This is a password, and first we will run the program and see. First we will refresh the page. So you can see here So if you refresh the page, so you can see here password, ID is a password, name is a password, and type is equal to password. If you type anything, it should not be visible to the user, right? So to display some proper format, what we can do, we can add all the code inside the table body, and we can apply some styles. Border is equal to 1. I can apply some bootstrap class, table responsive, table bordered, so now we can refresh the page. So this is the username and this is the password. So if you want to provide the value, then we can pass the value, and second parameter, third parameter is object HTML attribute. Like the same we can apply, which we have applied to the text box, the same which we can apply to the text pass HTML.password. So I can say class is equal to, simply I will apply the same class form control. So if you refresh the page, then you can see the width and height of the both text boxes are same. And now if you change the ID, then you can same use ID is equal to provide EWD user password or ID password. Next one is the TextArea. So @HTML.TextArea method is a loosely typed extension method which is used to create the text area, and the text area size is by default row is equal to 2 and column is equal to 20. If you generate any text area, it will create the default row and column. So we will go with understand the text area. So how to create the text area, and so first we will create the text area like the address. So we will create the tr. Inside the tr I will create td, and I will say address. Next, in the next td we will create @HTML.TextArea. So all the extension method are the loosely typed. Why? Because the first parameter, it is a string as a first parameter, so that it is all the standard HTML helpers are loosely typed extension method. I will copy and paste here also. right? So if you say address, it has some default row is a 2 row and default column is a 20 columns. So if you check from the HTML side also, if you say TextArea class form control, columns is 20, id, address, name, address, and column rows is equal to 2. So it will create the default rows is 2 and columns is 20. Next is the checkbox. So @HTML.checkbox is used to create the checkbox element in a razor view. So the checkbox element, so @checkbox method is an extension method. So it has a list of overloaded method, so we can go with one by one and understand, and we will also understand the use of a radio button. And @HTML.radio button is used to create the radio button element in a razor view, and it has a list of overloaded method, and all these standard HTML helper are loosely typed extension method which is inside the system.web.MVC HTML namespace, and all the standard HTML helper return type is MVC HTML string. So now first we can go with our student registration form. First we will create the gender, like we can use the how to use the radio button in razor view. So we'll go with first the gender, create ERTD, and I will say gender TD, and in this TD I will going to use the radio button. So radio button is also the list of overloaded methods. So you can see here a radio button, first parameter is a string, second is the object as a value, and third is boolean as the checked, and it has the sixth overloaded method. So first we will use, this is the name of the string. I will say this is the gender, or can use, and default I want to set as a true, and we can say this is a male. So you can refresh the page and you can see male, gender male, and default it is checked. Same we want to create for the radio button. So or we can say this is the female, gender, and value is, you can say this is a female, and this is a male. So if you refresh the page, so you can say male and female. If you click on the radio button here, it got selected as a female and male. And if you see this is the two checkbox is this is the two checkbox created from the HTML site. Input checked, the first is a radio, checkbox is checked, and type is equal to radio, value is equal to male, and name and ID is a gender, and same for the value is female, and it ID and name are the gender. Next we are going to use the checkboxes. So I think so we have understand about checkbox. So checkbox is used to create the checkbox element in a result view. So checkbox is also the extension method which is used to create the checkbox element in a result view, and it has a list of overloaded method. So we can go with the we can use as per our requirement. So we will use the checkbox as a hobbies. Next I will create one tr, inside the tr create one td, and td I will say hobbies, and in the next td I will create the checkbox @html.checkbox, and so you can see it has 6 overloaded method, so we can use as per our requirement. So first parameter is the name, second is the boolean, and so second parameter we can pass the boolean or the HTML attribute. Second fifth one is the string, boolean, and HTML attribute. So first we can use, so what are the hobbies we are going to display? First one is the cricket. I will use cricket, and value. So first I want to default selected, so I want to this one we need to select as the default. And third one is the HTML attribute @ right. So @html.checkbox. So first parameter we have passed as a string. So if you want to provide default as checked, then we can use true, else we can provide as a empty string. And we have used the class as a form control class. So refresh the page, run the application, and you can see here this is the checkbox. So else what I can do, I can remove this control, so I can remove the CSS from here, so it will looks like the same, right? Yes. Cricket. What are the hobbies? First one is the cricket, dancing, and drawing. So same we are going to copy here 2 times. So dancing and drawing. So default it is not selected anything. So first refresh the page and you can see the changes. You can see here cricket, drawing and dancing. The 3 checkbox we have created. Next we are going to use the courses as a drop down list. So here is the @HTML drop down list. HTML helper class is used to generate the HTML element drop down list. Helper method is a loosely typed extension method which is used to create the drop down list. Select id is equal to name and we can provide the name and id default, and it will generate the HTML element in a razor view with a specified name, list item and HTML attribute. And the signature of the drop down list is MVC HTML string, return type HTML.dropdown list, and it has a list of parameter. First one is the name, second one is the INumerable selected list item, select list, comma, string as a option label and object as a HTML attribute. So first we will go and create the drop down list. So to create the drop down list, create one tr. Inside the tr we will create, and we can say courses and to add the courses. So first if you go to understand the drop down list, then first we are going to create one list. So to create the list we use INumerable of a string type. We are going to create string as courses and use the list of string here also. So BCS, BCA, MCA and MCS. So and so many courses. So to understand, I have used some minimal courses. So just to understand, we have used the drop down list, and first we are going to pass the, so you can see here the first parameter is a string, so I will use DDL courses and second parameter is the optional label, and or we can use the INumerable list, select list. So I will use the new select list, and new select list is the it has 7 overloaded methods. So first we are going to use the courses, and you can see the second is the select value. So which value we are going to select? So I will say first or default I want to select, and data text field, so we can use here also select courses as well. So if you refresh the page, then you can see here so you can see here are the drop down list. You can see BCS BCA, it has find the list of courses. So if you want to apply the form control class to this, then we can use here as a HTML attribute, class is equal to form control as a class. So now you can see as better as the previous. Yes. So next we are going to understand the list box at the list box. The list box method, which is used to create the list box, as select id is equal to multiple, it has an option called multiple, so we can select the multiple value from the list box element, and it will generate the list box element in a user view with a specific name, list item, and the HTML attribute. And next one is the hidden field and display. So we are going to understand the both also. What is the use of hidden field? So hidden field extension method are used to generate the hidden field, like the input. So it will generate the input type is equal to hidden element in a razor view. So if you want to hide some value from the user and you want to maintain some value from the browser without visible to the user, then we can go with the hidden field standard HTML helper. And display is also same for the display is also same like the label. So we are also going to understand how can we use the display HTML helper. So first we can understand how to use the list box. And std we are going to use @HTML dot HTML dot list box, and the list box has list of overloaded method. So first is the string, second one is the selected list item, and object as a HTML attribute. So first we will pass the list box is a scale. So name is a select scale, and you can see here is the select list item. This is a enumerable, so I can say list as a select list item. So we can use the new select list item, text as you can say C#, and value is equal to 1. Yeah, so this is the very simple way to create the list box. So this is the @HTML list box. First we have passed the string as a parameter, and second we have created as a list as a select list item, and we have created the list item and inserted into the list collection. So first, and we have passed at the text and value. Text as a C#, ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Core, and Azure. So first we will refresh the page, and you can see here. So here are the list box. So you can see I can select multiple options from here. I can select 2, 3, 1 as per our requirement. And if you see the HTML control, this one for it will create, so you can see multiple is equal to multiple. So it is the multiple type of multiple select type drop down list. So it will create the same as a select list, which is same for the drop down list. There is only difference between the drop down list and checkbox. A list box control is it has one additional property, multiple is equal to multiple. So it is the multiple option. We can select the multiple option from the list box. So we have understand how this control, and lastly we can create one button called submit. So we can say input type is equal to submit, and text value is equal to submit, class is equal to btn timer. Refresh the page. Yes, so you can see here this is the submit button, and now I will provide some width. You can use the style, background, colors. Yes, now you can see So we have created the same student registration form which I have shown in this image. So this is the same. So I can enter the username as a Shri, password I can select, I can add some address, select the list of hobbies, higher education I can select, and I can choose my skill and select on the submit button. So what are the advantages? Of using the standard HTML control? So first advantages is all the standard HTML helper are the loosely coupled method, so all the standard HTML helpers are loosely coupled. So and second one is the standard HTML helper does not depend on the model. So what are the disadvantages? It does not throw the compile time exception if model property not found. So if you directly bind the model with the standard HTML helper classes, standard HTML helper methods, then if you change anything from the model, then it does not throw any exception at compile time. So what are the interview question and homework? So first one is the interview question. The main interviewer is asked the interview question on this part is what is the built-in HTML helper in ASP.NET MVC or MVC5, and what is the use of HTML.listBox HTML helper, and how to create and third question is why @HTML.TextBox is loosely typed method. So if you understand my tutorial, then definitely you can provide the best answer to all these question. And homework is you can create one employee registration form using the standard HTML helper in MVC. So that's it. Thanks for watching my video. Please subscribe my channel.